this is a Heathland course, and it was getting very itsy bitsy with blocks of pines in and blocks of silver birch all intermingled. In other words, there was a lot of stuff on here that didn't belong.
Woodland management is a major part of the overall golf course management, and from time to time there is a need to go in, thin out dead, dying, deformed timber and restock in with better quality trees and shrubs to improve structural diversity, to give you a better understory, canopy and eye canopy, using appropriate native trees. But it's not the end of it. Once you chop the trees down, you've got to dispose of them, and there's no better place to dispose of them than actually in the wood itself. Stockpiling is an essential part of woodland management. It allows hedgehogs, rodents, mammals and the invertebrates, the fungi, all to find refuge. Standing timber, such as this dead birch, can support some quite interesting wildlife. And here we've got a fungus which is quite restricted in its range, only found along the eastern side of the country and through into parts of Scotland.
What is happening within golf clubs and with greenkeepers, in fact they're coming back to a more natural environment for the golf course. So the reduction of pesticides, the control of water is all bringing golf clubs and golf courses back into a more natural look, which is really vital for us. We're getting rid of the dark greens and bringing back the more autumn colours that we need on a golf course.
Well, through the Scottish Golfcourse Wildlife Initiative, Linlithgow was selected as a demonstration site whereby management of the golf course was integrated with issues of landscape and nature conservation. And as part of the demonstration, a management plan was produced, an integrated management plan, tying together all aspects of golf course management and the implications of that management on other aspects of the site. The wildlife group are absolutely delighted with what's happened at Linlithgow. It's been a great example of good practice.
So this was just a straight line of birch?
Yes, it was originally. It's actually quite a good indication of some of the principles of the management plan that Linlithgow have adopted, in that they've produced sort of small copses which are beneficial to not only the game of golf but the landscape and the natural heritage of the site, the nature conservation value of the site. So,
right. It gives a lot more fairway separation and makes the hole a lot more challenging.
It's certainly made it more distinctive, for both holes, so it's a sort of dual benefit.
Right.
It's obviously a lot of work planting a couple of hundred trees in between two fairways, and you don't want that work to be wasted by golfers coming along and damaging them. You can see where a golf ball struck this tree and it's broken. This would just grow into a bush if it was left. We'll come along and we'll replace the odd tree that has been damaged like this with a golf ball, so that the initial idea of creating a copse with trees rather than just bushes is maintained.
This was one of the other areas recommended in the management plan to try and make perhaps a better use of an existing wetland area. And you can see that what we've tried to do here is try and create a sort of, even on a small scale, a range of habitat and try and encourage a wider range of vegetation.
It's interesting that it's immediately in play between tee and green. Is it not perceived as being untidy by the members?
I think it's important because it's got a sort of dual benefit, you know, on an environmental basis and from a golfing point of view. And I think you're right that, you know, it could initially be perceived as scruffy, but the process of education is very important.
Educating the members.
Yeah, well, I think that's the point, that over time you have to look at sort of longer term perspective, and you know, once nature sort of takes hold here, it'll become quite a valuable area and an interesting carry as well for the hole. In this case, they're beginning to appreciate why and where this is located, because it's obviously, you know, has a direct impact on the golf of the hole, right. the play of the hole.
What about this rowan tree? Is this not in the way now? Is this not obstructing sightlines between the tee and the green?
I should think so. It'll certainly need to be taken out at some point as it grows. But it's a good indication of the balancing act that you're trying to do between golfing quality and environmental improvement. So.
Okay. It's good.
Halfway through the process, I started to get quite worried because it really did make a big mess. We then finished digging it out, and I was seriously worried. I thought, the members really weren't going to like this at all. But the comments that came back after we finished it and we started planting it up were very, very positive. It wasn't a case of, you know, you've made an awful mess. It was more a case of, well, I like what you've done at the 14th, you know. Is that for the wildlife? And I was able to explain further, and they were very keen.
This is actually quite an important aspect of the management plan. It's a mature woodland. The recommendation was that there wasn't necessarily any work needing carried out here at the time being, but we needed to be sure that we actually were monitoring what was going on. So the management plan wasn't all about creating work, it was about, you know, assessing what was there and monitoring that.
I think the management plan gives you that baseline to manage, to monitor in future years, and that's fundamentally important.
I think so. You need to take stock of your resources before you can decide what would be best management for.
Because you've got trees in here like sycamore, which is it's invasive and it needs restructuring probably now the woodland with more native trees. Would you agree?
Yes, and try and get a more diverse sort of range of species and maturities
into the woodland. Right.
This was an area that was fairly intensively managed, and one of the recommendations was that, you know, we would leave it, see which wildflowers would appear, and they've had some really interesting results. Orchids and.
Is this being cut now?
It's not been cut for about 2 or 3 years, but it might well be in need of a cut at this stage.
It's interesting if you can reduce the cutting frequency. It obviously saves on time and on money. Allows the green staff to be able to get on with more important jobs, maintaining putting surfaces.
I think that's certainly been seen here, definitely. Yeah.
I think from the reaction of the members, I think we seem to have struck the balance quite well. And I myself, working here now, it's given me an added dimension to my job. It's given me a different way of looking at the golf course, and I've learned a great deal about it from being involved. It's something I thoroughly enjoy.
The process of sort of auditing what you have on the site, evaluating that information and producing management objectives for the sort of long-term future of the course is an important structure.
But it's very club oriented, it's golf orientated rather than ecologically oriented.
Absolutely. I mean, the core element is, you know, how do you want your golf course to play? Maps were produced on sort of landing areas and congestion, a drainage map. We looked into, you know, the number of members, number of playing days, and that sort of thing, just to assess, you know, where the sensitive areas from a golfing point of view were on the course.
You've got all the sensitive areas here mapped out from an ecological point of view as well.
Yes, and that's important. That information can be overlain, and that map was actually accompanied by a species inventory as well.
Species list, so with all the flowers, the birds, everything else that you saw.
Yeah.
And from that, I suppose the management objectives then could be produced.
You can match objectives for golf course management with perhaps opportunities for nature conservation.
I think certainly what I've found is with the management plan, you've got a baseline then for future monitoring. You've got the course development, but monitoring is an essential component of it. And if you've got all of this data in the first instance,
certainly that's a vital part of the process.